extremist billionaires avoid billions in taxes, invade everybody's privacy, promote disastrous illegal wars. They ignore the climate crisis, promote fracking, and bully politicians to do their bidding. They maintain an unjust world where 67 people own as much wealth as the poorest 50% of humanity put together. They stir up fear and hate so that we will blame each other rather than them and their 1% pals. Boycott their papers and TV stations. Distribute real media. So that's a call out to you, journalists. Boycott News International until they include real news, truthful news that commandeers the 99%, all the people, rather than just benefits the very, 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 very few people who control and manipulate this world to the devastation and detriment of others. So, on to the next page of the Occupy Circle. So these 5 billionaires, that's Murdoch, Rothermere, Desmond and the Barclay brothers. They're guilty of crimes against people, environment and democracy. We, the people, deplore the fact that our democracy has been captured by 5 billionaires. Their ownership of 80% of the UK's media. 80%, that's everything. That's papers, that's TV, that's radio, that's 80% of everything we see, everything that's around us, in the world we're born into. It has a massive influence on us. Just like our parents do, it's a domineering force around us. So 80% of what we see is from these 5 people. And it's very, very dangerous because of the exploitation and the escalation of fear and hate mongering that these papers produce. And the result is war and the poor suffering. And then when someone steps out and says there's something to blame, you will reshift the focus to whether it's the Muslims in Iraq or whether it's the poor over here. Anything to shift the blame from these 5 billionaires, but it's time that we the people say no. No more. No more to these 5 selfish people that take everything for them at the death and suffering of others. It's time to stop, and we're here, the people, to bring real news and real truths for a more loving world where we can all be together. On to the next part. So their ownership of 80% of the UK's media means that these 5 extremists control too much of what Britons see, read or listen to. This corrupt power has enslaved politicians in all the major parties. And as the Leveson inquiry showed, they have treasonably blackmailed political leaders for at least a generation. For true social, political and ecological justice, we need to establish a free, democratic press that serves the interests of the 100%, not the 0.1%. So that's basically a democratic press, a cooperative press that talk together with the people and focus on what we all care about and what we're worried about and ways to combat that. Not just spread hatred and fear and feel as if we're shut off to do anything about it and the only option is war or pushing and blaming people that already have so much problems and hassle to deal with. We need to redirect the focus to these 5 corrupt billionaires. They're the ones causing it, involved with a few others. May that be some very biased and corrupt politicians, may that be bankers or heads of oil companies or weapons manufacturers. They all have shares in each other and investments in each other and promote each other's gains. We need to take it back for us, all of us, and we're here to ask you to help us do that. Thank you. On to the next part. So this is the Charter for a Free Democratic Press, and this is what we'd really like you to listen to and help with, so thank you. Okay, Charter for a Free Democratic Press. These provisional demands will be subject to an ongoing, open and democratic process of refinement and improvement. So everybody's willing to add their suggestions to it. This is what we have so far. Number 1, Ofcom to rule Murdoch, Rothermere, Desmond and the Barclay brothers ineligible to be media owners in the UK. 2, maximum share of the market for any one private corporation to be reduced to 10%, and for any one individual, either alone or through corporate ownership, to be reduced to 5%. Major media companies to be run as employee ownership trusts. A press complaints commission to be immediately established that is totally independent of the media, as it is successfully in Finland. Full trade union rights to be allowed for all journalists and media workers. Media companies or owners with bank accounts in tax havens to be barred from operating in the UK. An independent public interest media to be part funded by a levy in independent local and national media companies. An independent public interest media to be part funded by a levy on larger media company profits. This would include support for independent local and national media companies. An immediate boycott of News UK, Sun, Times, Sky, Fox, Daily Mail, The Express and Telegraph groups until item 1 has been met. And item 1 is Ofcom to oversee all of this and make sure that they adhere to the people's interest. Okay. All institutional and other shareholders to divest from these corrupt corporations until such time as item 1 has been met. People around the world to stage their own local, non-violent, peaceful, direct actions against these corporations and the newspapers and TV stations. Corporate directors to be removed from the BBC's Trust Chair Board. And when this is done, we can all start to come together during this time and implement a fairer, more loving news. News should be what's happening in the world, what we care about, what we're worried about, and how we can work together to change this so it's better for everyone. Thanks a lot for listening.